Hello, I am going to get our webinar started. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Teresa Lyson, a business and solutions consultant at NICC, and today's topic is Winners Are Quitters with Kathie Rotz. Kathie is a speaker, author, and leadership expert who links brain science to leadership. She will challenge you to think differently and take charge for your transformation. This is self-empowerment. This approach will shift your thinking and encourage radical accountability within you and your team. Kathie is the author of Winners Are Quitters, The Art of Thinking Differently, a book that makes the bold claim success sometimes means letting go. She's also the creator of the Think Diff model, a practical framework designed to help leaders shift behavior and spark real change. Kathie is married to her college sweetheart, John, of 30 plus years, and they are still laughing. They've raised three amazing kids, so are empty nesters, except for the two golden retrievers, Asuka and Simba, who are sitting at her feet right now. She's the happiest hiking through the woods, baking healthy and delicious treats, or enjoying an unreasonable amount of ice cream, because why stop with one scoop? Welcome, Kathie, today. And if you have any questions throughout Kathie's presentation, please add them to the chat box or the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and we will either get those answered as she goes, or we'll save time at the end of the webinar to answer those. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kathie.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. Yes, for everybody joining, even if you just want to say hello, you want to stay engaged, use chat to keep yourself engaged and connected here. So thank you for joining us, taking time today. I want you to go on a journey with me. I want you to go back to 1989. Now, I know there's a chance that some of you may not have even been born yet in 1989. So for those people, or even the people who need a little refresher, this is the year of Seinfeld, Milli Vanilli, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, personally, I didn't even think those little turtles were even that old. But yep, 1989 is the year that they were born or created. Specifically, what I'd like you to do is go back to a date in 1989, August 11th, 1989. Do you remember what you did on that day? My guess is probably not, but I do because it was my 16th birthday, like big monumental birthday. But I did not get my driver's license that day, like you may think. Instead, I went to my garage and I pulled out my 10-speed bicycle. I had the cool kind, with those curled handlebars. Anyone else have a 10-speed bike that way? Well, this was my mode of transportation. This got me everywhere. I lived in a small town, so it got me to work and to my friend's house and social events. And every day, it got me to the airport. Now I'm going to share my screen with you. So things might move around a little bit. Make sure that you've got the chat or the Q&A repositioned appropriately. At a very young age, I had the amazing experience of flying airplanes. And on August 11th, 1989, I flew solo in the airplane. That means I flew alone for the first time in my piloting career. This was like total exhilaration, right? This was an amazing, amazing opportunity. But I gotta be honest a little bit. I had a little bit of fear. Okay, wait, scratch that. I had a lot of fear. I would come home from flying with claw marks in the palms of my hands because I gripped the controls so tightly. And I chose to wear these really cool Oakley sunglasses. Yeah, these are coming back in style. Oh, yeah, Oakley sunglasses that wrapped around my face because I didn't want my instructors to see the tears that were constantly forming in the corners of my eyes. Every time I got in the cockpit, my nerves were shot. Now, rightfully so, because I did put an airplane into a spin one day. But that's a different story for a different time. I continued with this flying adventure for about a year, and then I went flying with a new instructor, Jeff. He had a really interesting request. He said, the next time you come flying, go get yourself a new pair of sunglasses. Get those iconic aviator sunglasses, the type that don't wrap around your eyes. I need to see your eyes. I was a little attitudey at times, and I said, "Why? Why do you need to see my eyes?" He said, "Well, because your eyes don't lie. Your eyes tell me things that you're not sharing." Heck no, was my thought. There's no way I'm going to show you the terror that's constantly in my eyes. Jeff knew. He knew. He knew there was just something that I wasn't sharing. He saw it in my eyes already. And he continued the conversation, and then he said, Kathie, why are you doing this? Why do you want to fly airplanes? I was confused. Why would you ask me such stupid questions? And I was also offended. I got really emotional, really heated, and I said, well, first of all, I got a scholarship, so I'm going to learn how to fly airplanes. Second of all, this is an honor and a privilege, and everybody is so excited and proud of me. It's not like I'm just going to quit. Well, later that evening, I was back in my 1989, 1990 bedroom. Just to give you a picture, I had a bed in this bedroom and a dresser and a desk and a boombox and a pillow. It was a blue arm pillow, those kind that you put on the floor and you got the arms. Yeah, that was it. There was no TV. There was no Wi-Fi. There was no any technology. There was no telephone. It was just a typical bedroom. It was my bedroom. It was my space. I was comfortable. I was secure. So that evening, I was thinking about those simple questions that Jeff asked me. And I thought, the answers that I gave Jeff, well, they were for others or for the attention. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to fly airplanes? I'm going to pause my story right there for a minute. I stopped sharing. I'm going to pause here. This was a pivotal moment in my life. I mean, these are life-changing questions. Okay, maybe you've had this opportunity. Maybe you've had some tough questions asked to you at times. How do we figure out our answers to questions like this? I was 16, 17 years old at the time. How do we do it? My thoughts at the time were spinning, like spinning, swirling, totally out of control. My thoughts were, is the answer that I gave Jeff, is it really my answer? Is it okay to do things for other people or for the attention? What's my truth? What is my truth? Have you ever had a moment of truth before? How do we figure it out? How did I do this 30 plus years ago? How do I continue to do this even today? There's a way. There's a way that we can learn how to think differently. Sharing my screen again to show you, there's a way to straighten our thought spin, and it's by using the Think Diff model. The Think Diff model is a tool to use to straighten our spin of thoughts, straighten our thought spin so that we're more empowered and we get what we want out of life, right? This model here, it's going to help you be more curious, creative, and radically accountable. You can see in the picture, there's 3 sections to the model: push, be, do. That afternoon, that evening, I sat on my bedroom floor pushing through my thoughts. So let's dive in a little more to push. What does it mean to push? Push means that you're pondering options, unemotionalizing, slowing down, and humbling yourself. 2 things that you got to know, though, about this model. When you enter the model, you're actually not going to enter at the P. Pondering options is usually never the first thing that we do. It started, I guess, when you look at this, P-U-S-H is a nice word we can remember and it makes sense, but you're going to enter someplace else. And for me personally, I entered in the S, slowing down. I mean, when I answered Jeff, you could just kind of feel and hear my pace. I was hot and heated and anxious and disappointed in myself and maybe offended that he would ask that. I was just emotional. I was a fast pace, so I needed to slow down. And my bedroom is exactly where I did that. I could slow down because it was safe. And I had the door locked because my nosy mother and pesky brother were not going to interrupt this process, right? So I was breathing more and I was allowing myself to think. And then I moved into the U, unemotionalize. We need to unemotionalize from the toxic thoughts that we have, from the unempowering thoughts that we have. My thoughts were all over the place, and that just wasn't right. So I started to unemotionalize, and then I could move into P for ponder the options. Now, the second thing you need to remember here about this model is, well, first, you're not going to always enter at the P. You're probably never going to enter at the P. Secondly, you're not going to just spin once through push and then spin out. You're probably going to sit and spin through push for quite a long time. This is where we're going to truly straighten our thought spin and be honest with ourselves. So here I sit at the P, ponder options. What are my options? The question was, why are you doing this? Why do you want to be a pilot? What are my options? Well, I already said I got a scholarship. It's an honor and a privilege. Everyone's proud of me. I mean, those weren't really options. They're reasons. Are they really my reasons? I don't know. Why do people want to fly airplanes? Well, I started thinking about my friends who I attended ground school with. By the way, ground school is school on the ground. Instead of school in the air, it's school on the ground. So I had all age ranges of people that I went to ground school with. And I started thinking about them and I thought, wow, there's this group of people that they are like geeky, nerdy, excited about the engine of an aircraft. Not only the engine and the pistons but how the air flows over the wings. I mean, all of that technicality, oh, that's right up their alley. Yeah, that's not up my alley. Okay, so what about other reasons? Well, another group of friends, they like an adventure. A roller coaster is not enough adventure for them, so they just love to make their stomach turn. Yeah, well, my stomach turns pretty much every time I smell the interior of an aircraft. I'm good. I don't need any more adventure. Then there's another group of friends who just like a challenge. If it's a challenge, they're in. I agree. I like a challenge as well. And flying airplanes is definitely a challenge. So, okay, there's three other examples of options to ponder of why you would want to do this. And none of them are connecting with me. I'm still not there. I'm still spinning in the push section of this model. At this point, I decided I was going to adopt the Navy SEALs motto. They say that you've got only three choices in life: give up, give in, or give it all you got. So for me, what this really looked like is I could quit, I could stay as is and ignore the problems and just hope things get better, or I could fix what's broken. Okay, now we got options. Now I can work with this. So what is my priority of these options? I'm still pushing. I'm still pondering these options. What's my priority of the option? Well, I knew very quickly what priority number 3 was. And that was stay as is, ignore the problems. I felt like I was already doing that. I was already staying as is. I was hoping that with more training and more mentoring that things would just click. That it just kind of felt passive. And I want something a little more active. So I decided, okay, that's number 3. What is my number 1 and my number 2? What is my number 1? Is it quitting or is it fixing what's broken? I didn't know. So in that moment, in my bedroom, I said, they're both number 1. They're both number 2. I'm still pushing. I'm still spinning in my thoughts. I'm still spinning in my cycle here, right? So let's continue to ponder options. What would it look like if I fix what's broken? Well, if I fix what's broken, maybe I need to back up. What's broken? Where do I start? I did not know the emergency procedures properly. I did not know how to talk on the radio besides the script that I was taught. I did not know the technicalities of the engine, and I really didn't care and didn't enjoy that. Okay, let's just start with emergency procedures. That's a big deal, right? I need to know what to do if there's a fire in the engine, or if the engine just quits on me while I'm flying in the air, or maybe there's something, I hit a bird. I need to know what's going on. Now, granted, I mean, those are some serious emergencies, and it should make our heart beat a little faster. But what I want to happen is I want to feel strong and confident that I know what to do. Now, every airplane has a list of emergency procedures right next to the pilot and the co-pilot. It's a checklist. So there's always that to fall back on. But your brain does some crazy things when you're under stress. And I don't want to depend on paper because I might not comprehend it. I want it to be in me. I want it to be a habit. This is what it looks like to fix what's broken, right? This is what it looks like to feel confident. And if I get to that point, or if I need to get to that point, well, that means I probably need to study more. I need to get into my ground school books more. I need to get in the airplane more. I need to practice more these different procedures. Well, this also means I probably need to decrease my social calendar so that I can increase my study calendar. I'm visually seeing at this point what I need to do. And I'm thinking, okay, I see where I need to go if I choose to fix what's broken. So let's pivot a little. Let's talk about quitting. What if that's my number one? What does that look like? Well, if I choose to quit, I need to have a conversation with my instructor and my parents. That's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to say, you know what, I quit. Ooh. Okay, so if that goes well, or however that goes, what else? What else do I need? Well, I also need, maybe it's not a need. I get to never open my ground school books again. Oh, that's glorious. I could also increase my social calendar, and I think I'll start with a huge bonfire to burn my ground school books. Oh, I can see this. I can see this, and I can feel it for all of it. I can feel like if I chose this as my option, I can see how I'm going to make this happen. So here I am, feeling, seeing, truly equipped. I think I'm done pondering my options. How do you humble yourself? How do you know if you've humbled yourself? How do you know if you're there? Because you can't spin out of this model until you've truly gone through all four of the push quadrants. Well, to me, humbling myself means that I'm admitting things to myself. It means that I'm being honest, truthful. This is when tears started gushing out of my eyes. This is when I knew I was humbling myself. Because at this point, what I realized was my truth as a 16-year-old, my truth was I was scared. I was so scared. I had my life literally in my own hands. I was also not only scared, I was overwhelmed. Everything about this experience was overwhelming. And I didn't realize that I could say no to the scholarship. I didn't realize I could say no to flying airplanes. I didn't know. I didn't know that certain words in my vocabulary, they really were not bad words. Words like quit, failure, stop. No, those aren't bad words. We live in a world where the communication is all about perseverance. Winners don't quit. We need to have grit. We need to reach our goals. That's the world we live in. So that's why these certain words like quit and failure, they just never had any other meaning to me. For the first time in my life, as I sat in my bedroom floor and spun through the push section, I put perseverance and quit. I put them at the same level. I didn't make one better than the other. I put them at the same level as truly the same types of options. This was monumental to have almost this neutrality over these two words and see both of these options as truly possible options. It was so valuable at this point in my life that to learn how to think differently about all levels of words, not just quit and failure, but also perseverance and grit. Well, here's where more emotions were happening. There was more tears, and I was disappointed that I was lying to myself. I was disappointed that I just didn't ever think of a simple question like, why are you doing this? I mean, there's so much happening, right? There's so much happening. Well, now is when I knew I was coming out of the push spin, entering into the second section of B. B is the simple question of who do you want to be? There's nothing simple about that question, by the way. Nothing simple. Who do you want to be, Kathie? Who do you want to be as a pilot? Who do you want to be in life? Who do you want to be as a 16, 17-year-old? Who do you want to be as you grow up? Now, it took me a little while to really define who I wanted to be. And again, I had to close my eyes and like get a picture in my mind. But what I came up with is I want to be confident in everything I do. I want to be successful in whatever I choose to invest my time in. And I want to be passionate and excited about whatever I do. Just like my friends who get geeky excited about the engine of an aircraft, I want to find something that I'm geeky excited about. So when I had this definition of who I wanted to be, then I moved on into the last section of the Think Diff model. Then what do you need to do to fulfill your being? This last section really is kind of easy. It should be kind of easy. If you've really pushed and if you really have defined who you want to be, it should be really easy to figure out what you need to do. I need to apologize to you all because this is not a story of perseverance and grit. I did not persevere. I did not meet my goal. I did not figure out how to conquer my fear. I quit. That's what my number one is. I quit being a pilot. I quit my piloting career. I quit because I realized that that's what I need to do to be successful, confident, passionate, and excited. Now, did I want to be a quitter? Well, no, I didn't want that label. I didn't want that stigma. I didn't want to be a quitter, but it's what I needed to do to be who I needed to be. Here's what I learned. I learned that quitting or failure, it's not the opposite of a success. It's a piece of success. It's an important piece of success as long as you're running towards something else and not running away from something. You know, if I would have quit when Jeff asked me the question, you know, when I got all kind of defensive and heated, if I would have been like, I don't need this, I quit, I'm out of here. That would have been quitting the wrong way. But instead, I took the questions back and I truly pushed through my thoughts to straighten my thought spin. I defined who I wanted to be and I chose the best answer. I also chose what else I was going to do next. What am I going to go run toward? I'm going to run towards something I'm confident about, successful with, passionate, excited about. That's when quitting or failure, that's when it's okay. That's when it's necessary. So using this Think Diff model, by the way, it's not an easy thing to use. It's not something quick. It's not something like I can pull out of a hat and be like, oh, I need to push be do. Here we go. I can change my thought process that way. This is something that I need to pull out my pen and my paper. Through things in life, I've used it so many times in my years here on this earth, but I need to kind of process and get it out of my head onto my paper. I encourage you to do that as well. Get tools in place. And here on this QR code, here's what you can download to find a worksheet. It's a 4-page worksheet with the Think Diff model and a lot of great questions that just steps you through each section of the model. Write down your answers. Your brain needs to see it on paper so that it can do something with it. Otherwise, it gets all jumbled up here, and that's why we spin out of control with our thoughts. So download many copies, use it as a tool. On the right side of the screen, you'll see my new book that came out this past year on National Quitters Day. Winners are quitters. More of my story is in the book. More tools are in the book, including a thought cycle, which is how our brain thinks when we are experiencing life. We need to leverage this brain science, my friends. We need to leverage this and use it so that we truly are more empowered and we're truly owning the success that's in front of us. Now, before we call it a day, though, I have one more thing I got to tell you, because there's one thing in life that it's never okay to quit on, and that is people. It's never okay to quit on people. Here's what I mean by that. Jeff was my second instructor. My first instructor is the one who gave me the scholarship. He's the one who sent me to ground school and gave me the initial aviation education. And he's the one who helped me solo on my 16th birthday. What an amazing memory. Oh, we also crashed an airplane together and we spun an airplane. And I mean, he's the one, all my pictures are with him. He's also the one who quit on me. One day he went up to my mom, not me, my mom, and said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I'm moving on. He's moving on to somebody who really wanted to get their pilot's license. He didn't come and tell me. He just said, I'm done. And I said, okay, I'll go get another instructor. You see, I didn't realize I was being quit on. 17 years old, I just didn't realize people quit on you. So I found Jeff, and I was only with Jeff for about 3 months. And he knew right away as well. He saw it in my eyes, and he asked some curious questions. In the end, I chose to quit. Jeff didn't tell me to quit. My parents didn't tell me to quit. I chose it. That's what's empowering. Can you imagine if I would have realized that my first instructor quit on me? That could have affected me for life. That could have just diminished any confidence that I ever had. Thank goodness I didn't realize it. Thank goodness I found someone like Jeff who empowered me to make these tough decisions. Now, I know there's certain people in life that we're just not meant to be around. We're not meant to work together. We're not meant to be together. So what do you do? What do you do when you figure out, this isn't a good relationship? Be like Jeff. Ask curious questions. Guide them to make up their own decisions. Now, remember back to the story I told you on how I figured out who I want to be? I want to be confident, successful, passionate, and excited. It wasn't as a pilot. It wasn't as an accountant. That's what I got my degree in. Nope, didn't find it there. I didn't find it as a computer programmer or into product development. I didn't find it in all these careers. But I found it today. I'm in a career now where I'm geeky excited about brain science and linking it to leadership. I get excited about what I get to do, speaking to people like you, empowering people to own it, take charge of their transformation. It's out there. All those careers I've had is a piece of my journey. You keep moving towards something else. It's a piece of our journey. My friends, it's time that we own the opportunity to think differently. We take ownership of our own thought process and we choose to think differently in our situations so that we truly find that success that we're created to have. So before we end our time here together today, I have 3 questions that I want to leave you with. Question number 1, why are you doing what you do? Have you ever defined it? Maybe it's your job, maybe it's your hobbies, maybe it's whatever. Just have you ever defined it? Why are you doing? It might be a good reason, it might be a bad reason, but just define it. Question number 2, who do you want to be? And question number 3, if what you're doing is not working, then what is it you need to do to fulfill your being? My friends, thank you for joining us today. Be great today. We'll see you guys next time. Teresa, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathie. I think we can all agree that Kathie's outlook on quitting is really an opportunity for growth, right? And self-reflection. And I just love the idea of thinking differently about that quitting. I have read Kathie's book. And yeah, it's just ever since I've read it, I always think about that. Like quitting it doesn't have to be a negative thing. So it can be a good thing. So thank you today. If you have any questions for Kathie, please drop them into the chat box and we'll take a few minutes. I know we're at the end of our half hour, but we'll take a couple minutes to answer those. Sarah, my back end, is going to pop up a poll. If you would take a quick 30 seconds to drop an answer on those, we would appreciate your feedback on today's poll. So in the meantime, if Kathie, if you have any last words, or if I'm not seeing any questions or any comments even in the chat box, we'd appreciate those. But if not, thank you for joining us. We will have another webinar in October with John Rotz, and I don't have the topic off the top of my head, but watch for us on social media. We'll have the link out there to register for that. Will be on October 20th. So thank you very much. And again, I don't have any questions or comments for you, Kathie, but thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your Think Diff model.